All right. Hey. Hi, Simon.
Good morning. How's it going?
Hi. Welcome to the third episode of the Wise podcast. My name is Abraham Gusman.
I'm Simon. Chercuitte.
Yeah, and we're two of the four founders of Wise. Thank you for joining us. And I guess today we'll talk a bit about how we got here, right?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. You guys have known us for 2 years, but there was all the befores. I'll be honest with you guys, it's my first podcast hearing myself talk. So if you see weird faces, it's normal. You sound the same to me, but this is what I really sound like.
Yeah, that's what happens when you listen to yourself.
So it's interesting. So if I sound kind of funny, bear with me.
And it's early in the morning too. So,
yeah.
Look, I think our path has been pretty interesting, to tell you the truth. How we went from, my background was in natural food, right, and your background was in grooming and in cutting hair, and being a barber. So, it's kind of cool that we met in the middle and that we kind of provided natural grooming stuff that's like both worlds. You know.
Yeah. I think that's why we got hooked on so quickly on this project, because it made so much sense for both of us and also the other founders. But to mix up the grooming, which is everybody's day, you get up in the morning, you look at yourself in the mirror and take care of yourself, and having to work in that environment for so long, there was missing all that natural stuff. Like, I was used to squeaky chairs, need a bit of oil, coconut oil, and having to mix both worlds together made a lot of sense. The grooming world needed natural products. I've seen so many. Anything that would stick would the most chemical products. Great branding, great commercial, always great models. You know, the whole thing was always well taken care of. But the product themselves made no sense to me. Made no sense to the whomever was sitting on the chair. And having to meet you guys made so much more sense. And also for me, I needed to get educated way more in the natural world. And I felt like how natural food could be as well mixed with grooming products. So anyways, I've learned a lot from you guys. A lot.
I'm glad to hear that. I think that the standards in every industry are changing. Right, people are expecting more. People want to know more. They want to actually get informed. I mean, this weekend I bought some medicinal mushrooms, like some lion's mane and some chaga, and I spent an hour like just looking into it and finding the uses of medicinal mushrooms and how to take them and all that. So. I mean, we used to do the same, but I remember my dad, like when we were buying a car in like the early 2000s, and he went to the library to get like Consumer Digest and the best car reports, and there he had to go to the library to get these. Maybe this was like mid 90s or something.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
I mean, my grandfather in the 90s didn't even use his credit card. He'd buy his car cash.
Well, there might be other reasons
he didn't
trust the system.
Technology. You know, that's how much it evolved. You know, imagine your dad had to go see a book. My grandfather had to go to the bank, make sure his little book was updated.
Yeah.
And it moves so quickly. You know, so it's funny how now the information, people are ready to take it. It's not just us imposing to everyone natural products. People are ready to embrace it. And it's people like us that can eventually show the world that there is good stuff in our products. You need it, and why do you need it? And I think we came at the right time, because people are ready. People want to be informed also.
Yeah. Especially if they don't really have to sacrifice that much, you know, especially if the functionality stays the same, if
even the information is on the like tip of your fingers. You don't have to go at the store anymore. So I couldn't even imagine myself going at the library to learn about what you learned this weekend about mushrooms. That's pretty much like 3 hours of one book going through. Oh, we don't have those in Canada. Oh, those are in Asia. Oh, those are in another country. Got to go to the Canadian book. Where is the light?
Well, I've been getting a lot of information from different places. Like I listened to a podcast actually with a scientist who's teaching people about mushrooms and about how mushrooms are so powerful. There's like a mushroom that is like multiple kilometers wide.
A mushroom.
Big. It's like it's a system of mushrooms, but they're all one big mushroom. It's all one living being that's spread over like tens of kilometers or something.
So pretty much you can farm that one mushroom.
Yeah, and they all communicate. All the mushrooms in the world communicate. They all have a way to communicate their messages.
So it's like little tiny humans.
Yeah, they're like the number one living species on this planet.
After cockroaches or the first one?
Like before cockroaches.
Really?
I mean, I'm no expert, but yeah, and that apparently it revolutionizes the way people think. And there's a theory called the stoned ape that's like it's the idea that how we went from being primates like monkeys. To human, the brain doubled in size, and science can't really explain why it doubled so quickly. And they say that it's potentially because people were because monkeys were eating mushrooms.
So a type of mushroom or certain
the magic mushroom type, but that they didn't know that, and they just ate a lot of it, and all of a sudden it shoots your consciousness somewhere else, and it develops connections in the brain that made the brain grow a lot faster. So.
Well, I guess there's a reason why Colorado just legalized it also.
Yeah.
And there must be a lot of research into it.
More and more, I hope.
It'd make a lot of sense.
Well, all I know is that I need that lion's mane. I need that lion. I've been forgetting words, so I want to... Not words, but, like when you're thinking of a song and you're like, who wrote that song?
But do you think also we forget a lot because you don't have to remember it? Because the information is so quick.
Yeah, but still, it's...
I feel like sometimes...
No. That was stuff that I needed to know. Oh. Well, it's not that I needed to know it, but it's just things I've known for a long time.
And I've just...
Yeah, maybe it's just my focus or something, but...
I feel like we've got a lot going on, and I'm not talking just for myself. In general, everything's going so quick that sometimes I think I forget because I'm already on to the next subject, Maybe it is because I'm not taking mushrooms.
Well, it's just the brain. I started taking CBD oil and stuff just to help with that. I'm trying to get as many nootropics as possible, trying to just really take care of my mind.
What's nootropics?
Nootropics are different plants that stimulate the mind, that help create connections between the cells in the mind, and it's good for your brain. So like you know the alpha brain stuff that I've tried before. Yeah. So that's supposed to be a nootropic, but the only way that like coffee could be a nootropic too, because it stimulates. So
anything
the mind.
That stimulates. Not always good for you, but these herbs that you're taking are a specific focus, or
well, it's for brain stimulation. It says focus and alertness on.
If it
focus
says it
and
on
memory, it says focus and memory on.
Do you remember it? Do you remember?
Do I remember what I did last night? But yeah, we're working hard, Simon. I mean, look at us go. And I mean, since we launched Wise, we've launched a line of skincare products, right? We started with...
Which I'm really proud of, because considering that both of us had never worked with skin products before.
Yeah.
I came in from the hair world, so it was much easier for me to get into that. And we actually went on trainings to actually learn more about the skin even before.
That's how we got Chaga into the mix.
Exactly. So the young lady who's showing us, about skin, how skin itself, whatever we put on it, it will get absorbed through your body. And what goes through your body, boom, the veins, the muscles, the whole thing. And it goes down to your liver. So imagine you put sunscreen on. And we need to put sunscreen because the sun is too harsh. But if you look at the sunscreen we're using now, it's got so many chemicals. Where is that going? It's keeping your pores open and seeping through your body. So it was interesting to get deeper into the whole skincare to understand that whatever we're going to put in our cream is going to have to be good for your body. And we went back to the beverage world. You know, a lot of beverages at the moment are getting infusions of shaga, which has how much oxidant? Like,
not that many beverages.
No, but it's
they can't afford it.
Yeah, there's that too. But I mean, like, it's getting introduced into the beverage world because it's going straight into your body. Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense that if you're putting cream on your body, it has to be as good as inside as outside. So that's the research we went into. And anyways, we worked with professionals too, with the laboratory. And we you know what I said earlier? We learned a lot. Well, there's right there, the skincare. And I never thought I'd say it, but man, the actual face wash is the best face wash I've ever used.
Yeah, I really love it. It's changed my whole shower routine. I never used to really use face products. It was always, just rub the bar soap in your hands and then rinse your face with it.
Where did that bar soap go before your face?
I didn't really want to think of that. But it really makes sense now, and especially our face wash, our face cleanser is so like non-abrasive. It doesn't dry out your skin, so it's become like products really need to fit in your routine more and more. I'm actually trying to simplify my life in as many ways as possible, trying to get rid of things, trying to get rid of clutter that I've had in my life. So same thing kind of applies in my shower. I don't really want to have many things. I think you can agree with me. That's why we simplified so much our line. We didn't want to have 3 face wash, or we wanted that one specific one. I think we go back to guys are lazy. All right, we're lazy. We didn't used to use our face wash because we're like, don't need that. I got that one thing. But then when you realize that one thing is maybe just for your, armpits, your legs, between your legs, you're like, yeah, that doesn't go in the face. But you don't want 3 things. And I'm as lazy, even though I worked a lot on these products. I wouldn't know what to do with 3 different types of cream, 4 different types of cream. I just want that one cream I know I can apply, and I'm not gonna have a dry face. I'm not gonna have, Yeah.
And that was the challenge we had, because coming out with one product when all the other brands are coming out with 6 different products, it was a good challenge.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. A lot of that is just forcing consumption too, right? It's saying, hey, instead of buying this one $30 product, why don't you buy 3 of them for $100? And I mean, it's I don't see consumerism that way anymore. It's really, and I've gotten that feedback a lot, that it's it's simple products, simple things that lead to like simple consumerism. I get emails all the time by like, hey, I didn't know your products were gonna last so long. I didn't know
that a lot.
Yeah. You must with the pomades and stuff, cutting hair. Well, actually, before we dive in too much, just so that the listeners know what's happening here. You're the founder of Monthly as well, right? So there's this whole sister company between Wise and Monthly, which is your line of barbershops. You have how many of them in Montreal now?
We got 4 in Montreal at the moment. We just opened one not that long ago. I spent my whole winter doing construction, doing products, cutting hair all at once, and we're here now. We're actually in the new Monthly barbershop.
Yeah.
And we had enough time and enough room to be able to open up our first Wise store also. So it was a project that took us a bit of time, but it's finally open, and it's been almost 6 years now that we're alive, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna last another good 6.
That's good. Knock on wood, wherever the wood is.
No. Look, we've got a great team. None of this would be happening without any of the barbers. Monthly is not just me. It's a whole team. There's a lot of people behind this. You can't do this by yourself. It's such a personalized service. Whomever comes in the barbershop comes and sees his barber, loves the house. I call them houses. You could call them a salon. It becomes homey. You come here every month. That was the whole idea for Monthly.
Talk right into the mic.
Is that better?
That's better. Yeah.
Sorry. Do you want me to repeat everything?
No. It's okay. It's okay. It's an active effort. Until we get the stands, we're gonna have to really be active and speak right into that.
Oh, it does sound better. I do sound better like that.
Of course, you sound better like that. You didn't know you had a sexy radio voice until you started talking into the mic.
It's funny because I talk all day, and hearing myself talk is completely different.
You like it?
I'm not sure yet. I think I'm gonna. Well, this is fun because Abraham and I have been talking about doing this podcast for quite a long time now, and to do it in the barbershop, it's kind of an honor. It's fun. It's homey. It's relaxed. I feel at ease sitting here and actually listening to myself.
Yeah, for sure. More and more every time. It's going to get simpler and simpler. But let's get back to what we were talking about. We were talking about how. We were talking about how efficient our products are, meaning that I'm always impressed when somebody tells me that they bought our pomade 4 months ago and that they're still using the same container, or the face wash that you need a drop and you could I've been using the same face cleanser packaging for what, it's been 4 months now, 5 months, and I still have half of it left easy. So, and I use it almost every day. So,
hey, I got called crazy the other day for it. Because
for what?
For having products that last so long. People are like, you guys are a bit too honest, maybe. We're like, well, that was always the motto. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people realize it. First thing you say is, that's too expensive. And then when you realize how long you've had it, you're like, wow, that is not expensive, And I got called crazy for it. And I told him, I was like, no, it's just honest. We could have done little tiny jars for the same price. Yeah, I mean, there's the whole consumer thing, which are not used to that. They're used to buying cheap stuff and go through it every week.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of products are made with that kind of expiry date in mind. It's like the bumpers on cars. You ever wonder why bumpers are made out of the same thing as the rest of the car? So that you go fix your bumper more often. Yeah,
we don't have our good old metal bumpers anymore.
But I saw a Jaguar recently on the street that has they add the
cushion.
The cushion, and it doesn't look so good.
But it's a New York thing.
Yeah.
In New York, I've got a buddy of mine who lives in New York, and he told me he just moved there, but I don't know, this winter. And so he goes to park, and it's so tight in the neighborhoods. One of the guy goes, hey, don't forget to leave your car in neutral. In neutral. So the guy looks at him. My buddy looks at him and goes, why? He goes, oh, just so when people park, they can just push your car.
No way.
Yes way.
That must have been a joke.
No, it wasn't. That's how bad parking is in New York. Hey, I give you a chance. Park your car for $100 a day, or leave it in neutral.
So I leave it in neutral, bro. I might push your car later.
It's a weird concept. We're not used to that.
I could just imagine some four New Yorkers just decide to push the car out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Get the car out of here.
So yeah, no, it's an actual story. I went to New York a few weeks ago. I made sure I found an interior parking. I didn't want to get my car bumped into, and I didn't want to test the whole neutral thing.
Yeah. Parallel parking. Yeah, that's where you could see how people learn to drive or not.
Well, you can see if they live in the city or not.
Yeah. So look, you see what, like 50 guys a day, 50 men a day, pretty much in your barbershop here.
In the barbershop, it depends on the day, depends on the
week. On average, you see a good 30 to 50 guys a day, right? Easily. Not just you, but with all
no, we're thinking with all, in and out, on the barber chair, on the waiting chair. Yeah, at least. And
you've been cutting hair for what, like 15 years now?
16 years.
16 years.
Yeah,
you started in the UK and London, and you so how have men changed when it comes to their grooming routines? And
look, I'll tell you how much it changed. When I first started cutting hair in the UK, I'd come to Canada and I wouldn't tell anybody I was cutting hair. That's how much it changed, because people had this misconception of a man cutting hair, And now these days, 16 years ago, now I got 18, 19-year-olds that come up to me and their dream is to become a barber.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Look, we got to say thanks to social media. Honestly, it's got its good, its bad things, but our line of work got known better because of social media.
Is that like being a chef or being a cook in a kitchen has gone through a revolution?
Yeah, totally. I mean, 5 years, almost 6 years ago when I opened up the first barbershop, all my closest friends knew I wanted to open a barbershop years ago, even before it became a trend. And when it finally started getting known, one of my friends goes, somebody's robbing your idea. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, they're opening barbershops. I'm like, that's not robbing. That means it's time to open. Men are finally conscious that they can have their own space to go cut their hair. You know, we were used to what? Going to hair salons. We were used to going to the corner barbershop. This, the 70-year-old Italian old man that's doing the same haircut all the time. And barbershops at the time were very categorized. Oh, Afro hair. Oh, Latino hair. And not anymore. We don't have this whole categorized. We call it a barbershop. It's a bit like the coffee shops. You got the third wave coffee. That's what they call them now. Barbershops are just barbershops. They didn't give it another name. They didn't give it a third wave barbershop. They stuck with a barbershop. And it's guys like us that finally were able to bring back all this whole... You got to look back in history when you think of barbers. It's a very historical thing. And I don't know about you, but my dad was in the army, and every 2 weeks we'd be at the barbershop. Every 2 weeks. My dad had the same haircut for the last 37 years. Well, 36. After that, he lost his hair. But that's another story.
So then how is the consumer changed? How is the person walking into your shop changed? How has their expectation changed? I'm assuming they spend more time, more money on their looks, on
more than ever. Look, 10 years ago, we'd be talking about, you and I would never talk about a face cream. Never. What were they calling them? There was a name for them.
Moisturizers.
Yeah, no, but for the men that would use face creams,
Oh, like metrosexuals.
Yes, that's the word.
I never liked that word.
I've always hated that word. I've never gotten it, and a lot of people would call me metrosexual because I was a hairdresser. You know what I mean? So
because your shoes and your socks matched, right? That made you a metrosexual.
At the time, it would. You know what? You weren't wearing jeans and a baseball cap. You were a metrosexual.
That sounds like a very North American thing, right?
Totally.
Europe has always been very men have always cared. My father lived in Italy in the 70s for a bit, and he would tell me about what Italian men look like.
70s Italy was probably the most beautiful styles ever.
He had this one image of this guy at the tennis club. He was a professor, and he would play tennis, and at the tennis club people would call him professore. and once he would finish his tennis game, he would walk out of the locker room, and he would have this white scarf that he wrapped around his neck, and he had these beige driving gloves, these leather driving gloves, and he would sit into his old Porsche or an old Ferrari or something, and it just my father was very impressed with that look. It was very, and he's Russian, right? So I guess already back then there was my father's a pretty fashion forward type of guy, but it seems as if Europeans have had that openness to fashion and to looking a certain way a lot more than North Americans have.
Well, I think maybe that influence that I've had. I mean, I was born in Europe also. My parents, good old little Quebecers, you know what I mean? They moved back in the 80s. Excuse me. Coffee. Back in the 80s, my parents moved to Germany. And if you saw the pictures of them, they were stylish. A lot of kids these days dress like my parents. Because fashion always comes back, And they came back to Canada, and people were like, oh, look at those two fashion gurus, With time, they just got more relaxed. But, they were in their mid-20s in the middle of Germany. it back in the 80s when the pop music was taken over. So of course they got influenced a lot by that, and I think I have to thank them for that, because it's always been a part of my life when it comes to fashion. But when we think fashion, we think a lot of clothes that you wouldn't wear or haircuts you wouldn't wear. We always think fashion is something that's a bit too
like a runway,
yeah,
like a catwalk. Or
people mistake, fashion is always about runways and
extravagance.
No, man. And I think this is where, like, it's fun now. We live in an era where you can mix your everyday life with fashion. And I've got the opportunity to, like, I could say help people, you know, how to make it your everyday culture. You got your products, you got your haircut already there. You got the, like, main part taken care of, your head. And how much more confident do you feel after a haircut? There's not one person that can't tell me they're not confident after a haircut. A good one, of course.
Yeah. Actually, that's something that I've felt incredibly, like, I've noticed that it's like doing something with a cause has always been important to me. So I started, a big part of my career was spent in a hospital. Where I managed budgets for a hospital, and I got this huge sense of satisfaction knowing that I was, helping sick people or saving money for a hospital that was eventually going to help sick people or pay doctors more or whatever. They deserve it, or nurses. The nurses are the ones who deserve most of the money.
They work hard, man. They do a lot of hours.
Well, they make the hospital go around. Everybody else is a service somewhere, but the nurses are like the blood that makes the place kind of livable.
Oh, totally.
And then when I started doing the natural food, the kombucha thing, well, I found a real cause in changing people's diets and enlightening them and kind of going to war against big soda companies. And then as I got into the natural grooming world, I told myself, well, here, you're bringing a change, you're changing the way the industry works. But it never hit me until even, like, it took me a little while to realize the psychological effects of making somebody look and feel good, proper, groomed, well taken care of. It's there's a whole logic to like just doing your bed in the morning, that you get things done. And I think that taking care of your appearance and about your health, but appearance and health really go together. I think it could drastically change somebody's mentality. It could drastically change the way they see the world, the way they approach the world, the way they, because you could go from thinking that the world is against you and that nothing's working to feeling on top of the world when you come out and get a fresh haircut and you're wearing something nice. And it's deep. It's deeply rooted. Like I was never super, like I never put much importance on the surface. Surface things, but more and more now.
Because people think it's very superficial.
Yeah.
And
that was exactly my concern. I was like, I'm not a superficial guy. Well, I don't give a shit about that.
But there's a lot of people that don't give a shit about that. And I think that's the biggest challenge we have. Is trying it once. You try it once, you're pretty much hooked on. Just that confidence that you gain, knowing what you're putting on yourself, knowing what you did with your hair. You cut it, you put a good product in it. Man, I can do this tomorrow. That was easy. It took me 10 seconds to put a product in my hair. I didn't have to put a lot. I'll do that again tomorrow. I'm going to walk out of the house. Maybe not my chest high up, but I'll feel good. I'll feel much better. And then that's one thing out of your mind. Boom, your hair's done. You look good. Yeah. It feels good. It's quite an honor to being able to, like, give that to people also. People always ask me, why do you like it so much? I'm like, the satisfaction to see a smile every day. It's crazy. I got one of the happiest jobs in the world. It's really hard. Don't get me wrong. Could you stay up on your feet 10 hours?
No, not the way you do it.
I did it for 16 years. Do you know what I mean? And I don't even think about that anymore. It's normal. Like, I don't know if you see it. I'm fidgety now. I can't sit on a chair more than 10 minutes.
Well, how does this type of conversation compare to what you have with your clients on the chair? I know you were curious about seeing the difference, and is this a more active conversation or
no? Honestly, I guess you got like two different types of conversation you can have with someone is very superficial, how's the weather today, Abraham? Oh, it's like last year. It's a bit cool in the morning, warm in the afternoon. That is a very superficial conversation. You can have them if you want. I mean, not everybody wants to talk when they sit on your chair. The people are confused that like a barber needs to talk. I've got one of my barbers. He's one of the busiest guy. Doesn't talk, but his service is impeccable. Guy walks in, says hello, sits him on the chair, gives him the most amazing service from A to Z till the end. Doesn't talk a lot, so you don't have to talk. But I was nervous. No, I'm not nervous. I was interested to see where our conversation was going to go. And this feels like barbershop conversation. I'll talk as much as about my life, whomever's sitting on the chair, and products will get mixed up in there, you know? And not every conversation I have with them is about products. I mean, the guy bought a product yesterday. I'm not going to talk to him the next day, but I will talk to him the day after because I want to see how it feels. You know, he's had a few days to feel it. And we're lucky enough, wise, to have our people sitting on the chair and trying it on the consumer itself and have the feedback directly. You've got the emails, I've got the direct. So that's how we were able to evolve so quickly also with our products. Mm.
Yeah, this whole project is about evolution, and it's about I wouldn't even say improvement. It's just about figuring ourselves out and taking the next steps and just constantly trying to get better. You know, it's constantly. I mean, I'm happy where I am as an individual, but this whole process is about building blocks. It's about building something and then building on top of it, and hopefully kind of. Yeah, the things I know today versus what we knew when we started. Oh my God. Oh my God.
It's day and night. Well, you know, it's been, I don't know about you, man, but it's been such a good challenge. It still is. It's probably one of the biggest challenges I've ever had. Barbering, cutting hair, I've done it for a long time. So I've always, j'ai toujours baigné dedans. You know what I mean? I've always been swimming in it. Product line is completely different. Even though you are offering a service, it's much more, there's a lot more going on different than in the barbershop. In the barbershop, it's very one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Very one-on-one. All the barbers is the same. Products is completely different. You got to ship it. Yeah. You got to go at the lab. So it's been a challenge from the start.
It's people's motivation to spend money on products versus services is completely different. It's completely different. Like if I told you, hey, spend $2,000 on this thing, chances are you'll think twice about it.
I'll go at the library.
Yeah,
and I'll go read it in Writer's Digest.
Exactly. It's a hard spend. If I tell you, hey, spend $2,000 on this 1 week vacation, it's an experience. You'll probably, like, people are a lot more. Well, I don't know. Some people they have different reactions to it, but it's the different motivations when it comes to purchasing a service or purchasing a product. I think the expectations are different. The emotional attachment to things is different. It's
a good challenge. Like, yeah. I'm going back to the challenge part. Like, when we got into it, you already knew what it was to sell something. Au contraire, me, which has always been a service. You know. It's a one-on-one. For me, my service starts when the door opens and I say hi. Like, I'm in work mode. Boom. All right, what can we do to make sure we got someone in front of you? He needs to be satisfied, happy, get that confidence we spoke about in half an hour. Bam. Go. I can't do that selling a product. I got to do more than that. I got to show them. I got to give them information. I got to make them want it, but not forced, you know? All right, you're already informed that you know what a shaga is. Why am I putting it on your skin?
Well, if the product is part of the experience, then I guess it changes it makes it a lot easier to sell the product. That's why I think that's why I'm so happy to be doing this podcast and putting the emphasis on the experience part of what we're doing, because I think that our whole collective, this Wise/monthly thing, is a very interesting experience, and I think it adds so much to the products themselves. So I'm glad that we're creating this opportunity for ourselves to actually speak to people and really have them experience what we're creating, especially like with the things that we're going to be doing on Friday. I'm excited. We're going to clean up an island this week. So how cool is that? There's an island, just for the listeners, there's an island not far, like right off Montreal. It's called L'Île Rock Island. That
tiny island. It means so much for the St. Lawrence River. It's crazy.
Because there's this plant that grows there, the American water willow, that helps filtrate water. Meaning that like if the entire St. Lawrence was covered in water willow, we'd probably be able to drink the water straight from there, because it's a aqua, like a water plant that helps filtrate the water, and now it's under invasion from this plant called la carmentine. That's in French. I'm not sure what it's called in English.
Carmentine?
Sure. And we have to go get rid of that invasive plant. So it's something that I'm really excited to do. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, and it's been in the works for a while. So
we're definitely going to do a podcast on that one, because there's so much to talk about that.
Well, we're going to have Dwayne come in, and he'll do a really cool talk about that. Dwayne's such an interesting character.
You've never seen someone so fascinated about such a it's horrible what I'm going to say, but it looks so meaningless, that little tiny plant. And when you hear him talk, he talks it like it's going to save the world, you know?
Well, it will.
And that's why it's so fun to talk about it. Until you meet this guy, it's just another plant. But when you realize what it actually brings, it's amazing. Like, we're actually going to go on a gigantic surfboard, about 10, 15 of us, and we're actually going to go and take all those invasive plants out.
We're going to start.
We're going to start.
There's a lot of work.
One day is not enough, but, if we can get people to get if we can get the whole situation known by everyone, it's a good start already.
Yeah. I'm just excited to get my hands dirty and really get to work. That's going to be exciting. So I just want to finish my thought about how men have changed over the years. What else have you noticed when it comes to men in general? I know that these days, I mean, people, it's been like the definition of what a man is has been changing a lot, right? I mean, I don't think there's ever been a clear definition, but I mean, the expectations from society and from ourselves have been changing, and you're on the forefront of that, right? So
I think it's a constant evolution. It's crazy because I've moved a lot. I've lived in the city, I lived outside the city, and it always depends where you are. City life is very quick, very like career mode. What can I do to get better, better? I haven't lived in suburbs or outside of the city, so I don't want to talk for anybody else. I'm just going to talk for whom I've been seeing every day. I just feel like man today is very conscious about his surroundings, very conscious about what is in his life, how to simplify his life. That's what I'm noticing. A lot of people want easy. They come to monthly because they know they need to get a haircut every month. They can go online and book, how to simplify. Everybody wants to simplify their life. Now we have tools for our schedules. Now we have tools to come and get a haircut. I think one of the biggest challenges was to how bring technology to the barbershop. You got one of the, after prostitutes, you got barbers. That's the oldest.
Can you clarify that statement?
The oldest job in the world is historically proven. Prostitutes have the oldest job, and barbers are probably the second one. But it was a bit more barbaric. We used to take off pieces, but that's history. You've never heard about that one?
Oh, how
barbers used to actually be on the fighting front at the time, and we'd be the one cutting parts off. Believe it or not.
Is that where the term barber comes from? From barbaric?
No, that's just me that invented that.
Okay.
That was
so the barbers were the guys on the battlefield running and chopping off limbs?
Well, not running to chop off limbs. We were actually working with doctors. Doctors would actually be like fixing the humans, but you gotta remember if somebody would explode or get cut before they get gangrene, there'd actually be a barber in the back helping the dogs to take off pieces, because while the fight was happening, we couldn't cut hair, so we were just an extra pair of hands. So,
okay.
and there's also back in the days in London, people would get, what do they say? Ils se faisaient saigner.
They would get bled.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was another thing we used to do, and the whole blue.
Very, very educated. Educated in the art of bleeding.
Yeah, but it's not like, if you'd ask me to do that now, I'd probably faint. It's not what we do anymore. Just saying. We cut hair and beards, and that's about it. We take care of the follicles, so we don't. The barber pole itself used to be white and red to show that we used to bled people.
Oh yeah! Wow.
But the doctors,
that's where the thing comes.
And you're gonna ask me where the blue line is from. Doctors were angry at barbers. And they're like, yo, whoa. Red and white, it's ours.
Yeah,
that's
you're
ours.
Medical expert.
We totally weren't. We were just taking off pieces. There's no medical science behind that.
Oh, that's cool.
And the blue line got introduced because the doctors were a bit pissed at the barbers. They're like, no, you got to change your sign because right now you look like doctors, but you're not. You have no education. You have nothing. Boom. There you go. They put a blue line, and we just got more educated in our line of work. And look, it's become so popular through the last years. And I got to thank, I got to thank a lot of our generation that wants to change that, to have our own, ladies always had their hair salons. Men used to have their barbers. And throughout the years, I would say after the 80s, the 90s was a dark time for men. It was pale jeans, beer t-shirts in their pants, big mustaches, horrible glasses. 90s was rough, man.
You're describing hipsterville here. It's modern hipsterville.
Yeah, it's a small part. It is coming back.
It's 30 years, right? It's 30 years. So
always.
It's right on time right now, actually. Yeah. It's right on time.
Right on time. I got the crew coming in.
Well, that might be the cue to wrap this up then, maybe.
I think we will. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Well, Bram, that was fun. Honestly,
thank you, Simon. That was a lot of fun. That was our first. We'll do a lot of these.
It's gonna get better.
These are the ones that we could do whenever. We don't need to invite a special guest or anything.
You are my special guest.
Oh, you're my special guest. Thank you, homie.
Well, cool. Thanks, and I'm excited to do this again.